If I were starting homeschooling from scratch in 2023, this is what I will do. I'll take time off and no rush to buy any curriculum or anything really. Just take time off from everything. And this is just a reminder that homeschooling starts at home. So don't look for it anywhere else other than home. Especially when you're getting started, it starts at home, and just take time off from most of the things. I will not rush to sign up with anyone. I will not rush to sign up with a tutor or to sign up with any service provider or even buy curriculum for that matter. Maybe, take a break even from social media. Just eliminate things that will pressurize you to compare your child and other children, or to compare the way you want to do things as a new homeschooler with other homeschoolers that are there on Pinterest, on Instagram, and so on. So this is a critical phase as you're taking time off from everything to do your research about a lot of things, about different ways to homeschool, and a lot of other things as well concerning your decision to start with your homeschool. You also need to take time off and connect with your creator. I believe this is very important because a decision to homeschool is a huge, huge decision, and you definitely need God Himself to guide you on how to do things and when to jump and how to jump, which direction to take, and so forth. The second thing that I will do is to get to know my child. That sounds simple, or maybe my saying like, this is my child, I know my child. But when you embark on this journey of homeschooling, things just change. Everything just changes. The way you view things, the way you do things, the way you parent even, might change. So it's important that you pay attention to knowing your child or your children. So the number of ways you can get to know your child is to like do a little bit of everything there and there, and they see things that they like and the things that they enjoy, and can assess how they learn. You can do your own research on different learning styles, and then you can assess and see your child learning style, and you can see their strengths, their weaknesses, and so forth. So this is, I think, important to just pay attention to when you're getting started with homeschool, so that at least you have an idea of how your child learns and their strengths and their weaknesses. Of course, this is going to change over the years, but at least you have something to work on at the beginning. You might also want to talk about previous school experience. If maybe your child was going to a normal school, you might want to find out how things went and just investigate and find if there's any trauma to heal from, or maybe from anything really. It can be a simple thing, maybe something that's one of their teachers said, and you might want to have a talk about that. Or it can be something that's happened maybe at school, maybe the child was bullied or anything. Like, just find out where your child is and their experience with school. You want to start on a positive note, so you have to make sure that you identify everything that might be negative about your child's experience. Also, in this period of learning your child or getting to know your child, you might also want to pay attention to how your child wants to be loved. As parents, we may have a certain way of loving our kids, but we know that our kids are different. So just paying attention to small things like those, knowing how your child wants to be loved. I'm saying all of this because you will soon find out why. As soon as you start homeschooling, you'll know that you really need to know these things. Another thing, you just need to learn to hear your child. You must learn to take them as human beings, as how you will speak to an adult. Yes, so I always refer to children as people with great potential, but they're just trapped temporarily in these small bodies, as they are still kids. So learn to hear your child, learn to learn from your child. So this is the time to just make sure that you create that bond. It's not gonna happen overnight, it's not gonna happen over few weeks and so on, but it will take time for you to create that bond with your child, which is very important when you homeschool. There are a number of videos about learning styles, different learning styles, you can find here on YouTube. I also made a video, I think 3 years ago or so, when I was getting started with homeschool, about different learning styles. So just familiarize yourself with that. Knowing your child's learning style might help you a lot when you're deciding on the material to use, especially when you're watching reviews. So it will help you understand if that curriculum is good for your child or not. The third thing that I will do is to get to know yourself. You're about to embark on this wonderful journey. So, as much as you want to understand your child, you also need to know yourself. This can be jointly exercised for both parents and for both parents, really, but ultimately for the parent who will be homeschooling the children. You really need to pay attention to yourself. Know how you learn. This will help you because sometimes you might think something is easy or something is difficult, but you find that it's not the case with your child. It's just how you're wired, and you're most likely wired differently than your child. Another thing in this period is for you to be honest with yourself, for you to be honest so that you'll be able to serve your family right, or maybe do justice to your family. Because if you're not honest about who you really are, you might deceive them. They might think that, oh yeah, you're the right partner to homeschool, where else you know very well that no, your heart is not there. So this is the time for you to be honest about yourself and to be honest to your family as well. You also need to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and I'm not talking only academics here. I'm talking about a lot of other things like social and so on. So you just need to be self cautious of your strengths and your weaknesses. In understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, you also need to know your coping mechanism. Like, how do you cope when there are meltdowns? Like when your toddler is having a tantrum in the middle of a lesson, or how would you cope with certain things? You know, not to say you want to change yourself, but you want to be aware of yourself. You know, so that you will know how you're supposed to act, because those things happen when you least expect them. The kids get sick when you least want them to get sick. Your kids can get injured, or they can have meltdowns. The number of things can go wrong, especially if you have a number of kids like me with 6 kids in the house. So a number of things can really go wrong. So you just need to know how you would deal with those situations. And maybe you might want to change certain things, or you might want to relax certain things so that you will be able to homeschool. Going hand in hand with that, you might also want to know how you love. Homeschooling is such a beautiful journey, and you share lots with your kids, and you share lots of love moments, special moments with them. So it's important that as much as you know how they love, how they want to be loved, that you also understand how do you want to be loved and how do you love. And you also want to know how do you offload stress, like, because you will be overwhelmed. You will want to quit, you will question yourself, you will second guess yourself. So it's important to know how do you handle that stress, how do you cope with that stress, how do you offload the stress, and how do you reset. You know, like, okay, when do you reset? Talking about all those things, you also need to know what is important to you. What is important to you, you know, as you're taking this new journey, what's important to you. Okay, I know it sounds like you will figure out everything at the beginning, but no, you won't figure out everything at the beginning. It's just that um, I know that you won't understand yourself completely, like everything about yourself in a few days, and about your child as well. But I feel like it creates, or it gives you a good foundation to start um, with your homeschool journey. At least you'll have something to build on going forward. The fourth thing, which I think is very important, is to define your why. Why do you want to homeschool? And write down your honest reasons why you want to homeschool. When I say honest, I mean honest, like no one will need to ever find out, or you don't have to share some of the things because maybe they might be very personal. But write them down. Why do you want to homeschool? Write those things down. They will help you a lot in a long run, not even a long run, in a few months time. They will help you when you're in that stage of asking yourself why did I do that? Or maybe when you feel overwhelmed, you're like, I want to send my kids back to school. Or maybe when you're getting advice from people saying, why don't you send them to school? Okay, so knowing your why and writing it down will save you at that time. Your why will also help you in your yearly planning. So maybe if you're homeschooling because maybe you want your kids to do lots of sports, or you want to travel more, or whatever the case might be, or you want them to excel, in their academics, this will help you in your planning because you already have a plan there that this is what you want. So if maybe you're choosing whatever, let's say curriculum, if you're choosing curriculum, then if you know if you will be traveling a lot, you will need a curriculum that will go along with that plan for your family. Or maybe if you want your kids to excel in sports, then you will plan accordingly which sports you want them to enroll in, and when are they going to go for practice, the matches and everything, so that you can plan your things accordingly. So that's why I'm saying it's so important to define your why. It will help you in a number of ways, really. The why you do things will save you. It has helped me a lot when I was feeling so stressed. You know, as a working homeschool mom with 5 kids, I just had my sixth baby right like a few weeks ago. um it does help a lot having the written down why, so that when you in doubt or when you want to reverse your decision, and then you just go back to that why, and then you say okay, and then you feel that it's all worth it and it's going to be okay. The fifth and the last tip I have for you guys is to be practical about your goals. I can do a video on just practical homeschool goals, you know, for your kids. Yeah, and this, yeah, I can go in detail. If you guys are interested, just leave a comment down below. My last tip: to be practical about your goals. How often do you want to homeschool? In the days of the week, you decide, do you want to homeschool for 3 days, do you want to homeschool for 7 days, do you want to homeschool for 5 days? So those small things, they might seem like duh obvious. They're not duh obvious until you take the decision that maybe you want to homeschool for 7 days, or you want to homeschool for 5 or for 4 days. So just be practical about it. Is it practical for you and for your family setup to do that? Then you can decide what you want to do. Another thing, you need to be practical about when you want to homeschool. Do you want to homeschool early in the morning, like make sure you do it before any other thing, or do you want to homeschool during the day, or do you want to homeschool even in the evenings, because you can. You know, so you just need to be practical and decide on the time that this is when we would like to homeschool. And also where you would want to homeschool. Do you prefer homeschooling at home or at the library, at the park, or wherever? This might change. This will definitely change, and as you will be changing environments for a number of reasons. But it's important to know that the majority of the time we'll be homeschooling here at home, for example, or one homeschool outside with our chickens and our livestock and so on. Wherever you decide to homeschool, just be practical about it. Is that possible? Is that possible for you to go every day to that place to homeschool? Like I said, I can do it a more detailed video, because there are a number of goals that you can set for your homeschool, like academic goals, and maybe even character building goals, and there's so many goals. There's so many goals that you can set for your homeschool. But in whatever goal that you decide, just be practical about it. I think I'm going to do that video about practical setting practical homeschool goals, because I feel it would help me if I was getting started with homeschool, and hopefully you guys will find it helpful as well. But please do leave a comment down below. I'm saying set practical goals, but never box yourself, because those goals can change maybe monthly or even annually. It depends what goals you have in there, but do not box yourself to those goals. I think you will enjoy the video where I share the lessons I've learned since I've started homeschool. I'll leave it here, and I'll also leave it in the description box down below. The next video I'll share on this series will be what to do then once you have done the 5 things, if you want to start with your homeschool in 2023. I hope you subscribe, like this video, and then turn on your notification bell so that you'll be notified when that video goes live. Other than that, learn from these mistakes. Bye guys, I'll see you next time.